You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest. Well, that's bullshit.
Shut up, rent-a-cop.
Okay, let me take this part down. Well, thank you guys for your patience. We're here with Chelsea, and thank you for having us on your show. We finally got it connected. But this is Chelsea Colley. She's interviewing us today, and I do want to share just a great picture of her because it's with someone that many of you guys know. And here it is, I think. There it is. With Laura Logan.
Oh, I love that shot.
Yes.
I was standing next to Laura when Trump made his announcement after bombing Iran at
You're so cozy.
The Rev 17 event. So
must be something with that, because the day that I saw her speak was the day that the bridge collapsed.
Oh, wow.
I was talking about that. Like, yeah.
Wow. But Ohio or?
No, the one on the East Coast, right?
Francis Coppola. I can't remember the location of it.
The writer of named after the writer of the Star Spangled Banner, I believe.
Yeah, that's not Coppola. That's
no, but
Francis Scott.
Yes.
Is that it?
Well,
I'm probably
much
missing
closer.
a name.
Yes.
I should know that.
Yes.
Anyway,
so
I'm not the only one.
Well, we're mainly on her show, but what we're doing is we're simulcasting it as well because her Zoom just don't link up with her YouTube, and we figure out some kind of workaround. So we're trying to do what we can because she knows what censorship is like too.
Yeah, Clojo, yes, Carol did wax us while we were there. I'll tell you, there's no avoiding it around Carol. She's gonna wax you. It's just gonna happen. Carol, hi, Clojo.
I can't believe you guys spent a month with Carol.
You spent a month with Carol?
No, we did.
We did. Okay. A couple weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't the full month. We spent the first 10 days in Tamarindo, so
okay.
Very different experience from the one we had up in the mountains, but yeah.
Well, you guys have had some trips.
Yeah, that's very true.
Finally, it's starting to happen.
Still tripping, really.
So, well, I know that you're kind of taking the lead on this. So, where would you like to go with the conversation?
All right. Well, I love you guys. I just looked at the live. It was 555. But you guys are definitely my favorite channel, and it's just because of your heart for the children and the fact that you don't even have children and you're doing this just to serve the children anyway. And that's really like kind of what got you started. I mean, I've heard you guys say that several times. Yeah. And yeah, you guys are warriors, and you've been through a lot, and you are very, very, very censored. And yeah, like you're almost at like you're like at 45,000 on Rumble, which is great. But yeah, you should be like having way more views, and it's like we're all like shadow banned for sure. But you've talked a lot, like Joe's, you said several times that you want to be a bridge and help make that connection with others. And the way that you've helped me and support me, like I'm just super appreciative of you guys. And yeah, y'all are like my favorite hands down channel, and like all, you know, the level of the caliber of guests that you get is so good. So thank you. And you guys are awesome. I just love you so much. So I thought we could talk about a little bit about like some current events, and then go a little bit into background, and then kind of zoom out and look at this like spiritual war that we're in, like the bigger perspective. Absolutely. So, and as far as current events, I mean, we can talk about Iran or potentially World War III, or there's a lot of people turning on Trump. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Iran and all the World War III and all that stuff?
Go ahead.
I think in defense of the people that turn on Trump, which I'll give him a little bit. I feel the same way, being very anti-war. It sure sort of looked like Trump was doing the bidding of Israel, but I always remember this is chess, not checkers. And, it's always better to wait and see. It's sort of like when he dropped the Moab, in the first term. That was an abandoned airstrip. These are acts of war, but without any casualties. That's probably the best kind. It's just
that's the mother of all bombs for those that may not know what the Moab is. It's also a great city in Utah, which we've been to a few times.
Love Moab, Utah, yeah. But the mother of all bombs. And from what I understand, that was just they were going to have to dismantle the thing anyway, which would have cost a fortune. So it just made sense to, put on a show. And I think largely what we just saw was a show that had been negotiated prior to. After all, we're watching a movie. So, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, a lot of other people. Some people were apologizing for having ever supported Trump. And not a good look at all. But I think it gave everybody
deep end.
It gave us some perspective. It really did. And, I wouldn't say their concerns were unfounded, but you would think that they'd have a little bit of faith at this point, and not be so quick and hair trigger when it comes to condemnation. But, it's all working out, I think, pretty well. We'll see what Israel does, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right.
Well said. Well, I think it's amazing to watch even Pete Hegseth, I think it was yesterday, just coming out and just talking to the press in a way that we've never seen talk to quite like that. Trump does it at times, but Pete just, for a few minutes, just, lambasted him. And I think, hopefully some people are starting to watch that and at least kind of go, yeah, wow, what is going on here? So, but I will say this, and we'll plug our show for Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific with Nick Alvear, who just released The Greatest Show on Earth 3.
Yeah,
and
great.
It is incredible.
It's really good.
It's on goodlion.tv. I think it's like $88 a year, but it's the Netflix of Red Pills. And, it's a 50-minute film. The first 13 minutes Nick put out there, but the way he ties it together is he just nailed it. He really is exceptional as a filmmaker.
Yeah, he did a bang-up job with this one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that interview as well. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
One final point on the Iran thing. This was going to happen anyway, and thank God we did it and not Israel, because they would have been out for blood. Trump was out for some pretty good, tasty theater. We all got that. And I think there was a lot of respect paid where respect was due, but ultimately it boxed Israel in. And I think a lot of people were disheartened by the statement Trump made in support of Bibi Netanyahu after the fact. But I think we all need to look at Israel as a coiled snake at this point. It's a dangerous situation, and you gotta play ball. You gotta play this thing the way it needs to be played. So where is it going? I'm not sure. Saving Israel for last is something that just sort of repeats in my head over and over, because who doesn't want to get to the end of this movie? Jeez.
Right. And Nick talks about that, how the way that it took a long time to get to the root of the problem, because it's so shrouded in the whole, the anti-Semite terms and a lot of people, they can't, and it's almost like this whole, over the years, you can't say this and you can't say that, and this is racist and that's that. It was like getting people corralled so that they, when it comes to the Jewish topic, and really it's the Ashkenazis that have infiltrated the Jews, like a friend of ours, Lisa Schermerhorn, she didn't know this stuff's going on. And so,
most don't.
No clue. And now she can see it. And so it really took, I think, a lot of steps to get to the point where people can start going, okay, what is this multi-shrouded entity, known as Israel? And Nick, he really knocked it out of the park with peeling back the layers, if you will.
Yeah, it could have delved into the Sabbatean Francus a little bit more, but then again, it was a broad-based, presentation. People are just operating with very little information, and they have very strong opinions. That's why we've been doing a series with Ethan Lucas about the difference between Satan and Lucifer. Most people don't know. They don't make the distinction. It's all sort of synonymous, and we throw these terms around, again, with authority. And I think these are important terms to understand. And Israel's a tricky one because quite intentionally, they're a race, they're a religion, they're a state, and they blur the lines on all those things. So if you're critical of the political state of Israel, it can be easily interpreted as being racist against a race of people or something, and they obfuscate and make it very difficult to put a point on it. And, that's
intentionally.
That's very convenient for a lot of folks, but we do our best to try and tell the story, just kind of like the Satan and Lucifer piece, because it's important for people to understand this stuff. Know the enemy, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure, sorry to interrupt this broadcast, but I don't know if it's streaming on YouTube because I can't see it on my YouTube.
Oh, well, I can take a peek. It looks like it is.
Sorry for this technical break.
You're good. And if it's not, then we'll send you the file immediately, and so you can upload it whenever we're done. But yeah, let me just take a peek at it.
It's not like updating on my phone, so it looks like it's not live on my channel, which is just crazy because it says it's connected. Like it has a check next to it. Well, so YouTube green check.
We're kind of banned, so
yeah, it's
maybe it is actually. Maybe it is.
It's live. Yeah,
we're good.
Hello, everyone on Chelsea's YouTube. Yeah.
Yay, my YouTube channel. Like that was the whole point to do this on my YouTube channel. I'm sorry to interrupt then. Okay.
Yeah, no, Little Red says you were on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. So we're getting, see, we'll share the comment. Here it is.
Yes. Okay,
so that's
thank
from
you guys.
That's from your YouTube, we can tell.
Awesome. Okay, StreamYard is new to me, so I need to learn StreamYard and then do that on my own channel, which I haven't done yet. Because every time I've done a video, I've just went live and I haven't had any intros or editing capability or time to do any of that stuff. So, and I just feel like it's more authentic just to do it live anyway, so.
Well, there's less editing and, there's less editing. It is what it is,
Right. You get what you get. And like the last video I made, I was like crying and I was telling my story. I cried way more than I would have liked to do on my YouTube channel. But like it was, genuine. So I'm just not going to censor or edit myself when I'm trying to like talk about free speech and stuff.
Right.
So sorry for the interruption anyway.
No, but now because now you have confidence that that it's working. So that helps. Peace of mind. Awesome. That's worth a lot.
Joe's cried a couple times on our show. So it's just,
probably more than that.
I think I've welled up. These are heavy topics. They're emotional topics, and there's a reason why we put so much time into this stuff.
Yeah, right. And also I think that the spiritual attacks can also be like technological attacks because like there's been so many times I've wanted to do things and it's just not working. Like I haven't been able to upload a thumbnail to YouTube in years. And I used to love making the thumbnails. Like I made the thumbnail today. And
yeah, she did.
But it still won't let me. So I'll just pray for a miracle and healing around the whole thing. I was away for a while, but it's okay. Like we got some great friends, we got some great people, and I think there's a lot of good things in store. And I think that together, when we unite together, that's where the power is. So I would love to also be a bridge and help reach the mainstream. That's awesome. Yeah. There's power in vulnerability for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, in fact, E. Smitty's watching right now, and he's it's amazing what he's done. He's taking a few of our interviews. Well, actually the one yesterday I just sent him with CR Stewart, and it's on Sound Alive. So there's Sound Alive Radio, and we'll share the links for that. But he's helping us get around the censorship with the music and the show. And it's incredible, and it's on the Evernote blockchain. So it's basically they can't touch it, they can't take it down, they can't edit it, they can't mess with it, they can't censor it. And it's it's kind of like remember Sirius Radio, Sirius. That's how you say it.
The satellite radio?
Satellite radio. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
It's like a new version of that. So it's groundbreaking. And so it's just to have met all these people is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, we're very
to travel and meet a lot of people and go to a lot of events.
Yep.
And you were just in Costa Rica for a while.
About a month.
And then
yeah.
you're also got a big trip in Ireland in that September.
Yep. For my birthday.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that? You want to talk about Ireland?
Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, so another person we met through Lewis. So a big part of why we are where we're at and why so many truthers have met each other is because of Lewis Herms, who's now running for the governor of California. And so Lewis put on 2 truth tours and then the Unity tour. And he's created this amazing group of people that are now connected to each other. And one of the people we met was the amazing Adventures in a Cosmic Suit, Mark Atwood. And so he has since linked up with the gentleman, and they've created a live 5D health. I'll share the link to that as well. And they're putting together healing 3, 5, and 10-day healing sessions, if you will, in Boyle, Ireland. And we're going, well, his birthday is the 20th, and then our session is going to be the 21st through the 26th in Ireland.
Lewis will be there as well. It's gonna be kind of fun. Lewis is kind of the reason we're so shadow banned also. Not his fault, of course, but just our affiliation. But yeah, this I can't wait to see what Mark has created. But just some of these technologies are mind-blowing and next level.
I looked at sorry to interrupt, the landing page, the list of all the treatments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so
pretty
the
amazing.
schedule is when you guys get there, there's going to be a party for the people on the 20th, right? And then your event is the 21st through the 26th.
Right. So the party's for anyone, the general public. I think the party's in between Lewis's 5-day healing sessions and then ours. And anyone that's around Ireland or wants to come to that event, that may, whether someone wants to go to the healing session or not, it doesn't matter.
It may be happening in a castle.
Oh,
and I've always had a thing for castles, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Mark Atwood said something about like uniting like people that are committed to the truth from across the world or something like that.
Yeah.
Then
so that's where people can find out about Mark Atwood's Healing Center, and then of course we'll put the link below. If people do want to join us, there's still a few spots left, to actually go to Ireland.
Coming up soon, right?
Yeah, he's given us till well, I guess now it's another week or so to get everybody dialed, because they got to get hotel rooms and figure out who's staying with who, and all the accommodations that go along with that. So pretty incredible.
Yeah, if you can make it or you're close, don't miss this one. It's going to be fun. And then January we're putting together something in Costa Rica, which is also a healing retreat, but nature is the technology.
Well, let me pull up Carol's website.
I've been wanting to go to Carol's place. I've been wanting to go there for so long, but I would so love to go there with you guys too. That would be amazing.
Come join us. It's gonna be something else.
It'd be really cool if we did have a bunch of folks that were, aware and awake and part of this movement. I guess if they're coming though, they had to hear about it from our show, so likely they are.
Well, for sure. And I think there's gonna be a bunch of old school truthers joining us as well. So it'll be a bit of a reunion as well there, I think. It's still coming together. We haven't really put anything out yet, but it's spectacular. I fell in love with that river completely. Yeah.
Wow.
I can't say
Yeah,
anything
and
about
this is Carol's property. I've interviewed Carol before a couple times. She's great. I love her. Carol Maureen Friesen.
Mm-hmm.
one of a kind.
The Lightworkers Institute. I'll put her other website up as well so people can learn more about her. But yeah, it was magical. It was very grounding. And then it's been great having help from some of my siblings to take care of the mom, so I can do this. So it's time, because I've been, it's tough because we've all been working with very, very little funding, or at least most of us, I think, doing this work. And that's not why you do it, but just to be able to travel and now get a transmission for my car. I wasn't expecting that. So things come up.
It's a balancing act. It really is. But that's life.
It is.
But I think in a lot of ways it's getting easier. A lot of people are telling me that they're, stuff is manifesting quickly. They're feeling more connected. There's a lot of folks that are feeling less connected and losing their minds as well. But that's just part and parcel of what we're going through. This is the most unique and amazing experience our species has ever participated in, and we got a front row seat, so I feel pretty good about it.
Right.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we don't ever claim we have the answer. It's not like we've found it, and it's it's just we're just questioning and figuring out what we can what we can lean on and what we can't.
Definitely.
Yes.
Let's go to your background. Kind of, who wants to go first?
Well, he was aware of things a bit prior to me, so I think that's usually a better place to start, I would think.
What, with me?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, either you or one of the dogs.
What's that?
Oh, there's some dogs outside too, and I'm not talking to them. So,
well, prior to doing this, I was doing a finance gig. But yeah, Joe's right. I led a pretty unusual life. I went to 6 different high schools. I went to a German kindergarten, lived over in Europe with my family when I was a small child. My parents had some really interesting friends my whole life. And I think I was a lot more articulate as a child than I am now, which was a bit of a spectacle at the time. So yeah, so I was participating in all the dinner parties and whatnot, and I could hold my own with these folks. And
he had quite a vocabulary as a young man.
Better than now, yeah. And they got a kick out of it, but a lot of people that had been touched by the Clintons in one way or another. A lot of people. I mean, there were arms dealers. There were, there was a billionaire before that became more common, or two, actually. My dad's best friend was the head of federal firearms training for all law enforcement divisions of the federal government. I learned a lot from him. And so I was hearing about how the world works from people that were, engaged in the truth of the matter, which was very different from what you'd see in the media. So my whole life, I kind of knew that the media was lying. And, because I would hear these stories so regularly. So I've kind of always had that perspective. I lived at one point 2 doors down from Bill Clinton's private pilot during all of his early campaign years. So I knew the truth about Bill. There were cocaine and hookers on every flight. It was much worse than any of the stories you've heard. And my pilot friend couldn't stand him, but hey, it was a job.
How old were you when you were learning this? Roughly
20s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And so let me see. So between the Clintons and the Carlyle group, we got involved with an investment thing we were doing, and I learned about how capital really is moved and how fleeced the taxpayers are, to an extraordinary degree. We were invited to participate in programs that, they're really quite shocking. we're talking $100 million revenues we were looking at just participating in these programs. And you don't go to an office for that. You go to a hotel suite, and it's a little bit dark and dusty, but that was where I came from anyway, was that kind of a world. So I've always had an unconventional perspective on things.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, the teacher, how they always go around the room and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And most kids will say fireman or astronaut or, whatever. Well, when she got to me, I answered honestly, I said, international arms dealer. And she was like, what? But a good friend of the family was an international arms dealer, and he had a much younger, beautiful wife and a gorgeous house, and he got to play with helicopters and tanks, and the guy was always happy. And I thought, I'll have what he's having. That looks great. So that's why I said what I said.
Wow, that's very interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, so, and then when did you guys meet? Like how old or how long
Well,
ago?
we met in high school, but he was at the same high school I was at for 1 year.
Okay.
But we didn't talk very much, and then he moved. I mean, he went, like you said, he went to 6 different high schools, and then he came back up to the Tacoma, Washington area, and we were both bartenders and into film and music and paint and all different art galleries or whatever. And we just see each other from time to time, and then finally, I think one night he just had a group of folks up at his apartment, and then it was just like why don't we hang out? And then we just started probably going to more events and shows and different live music, etc.
Yeah, we really don't. I mean, we went. One of the high schools I went to was the same one Joe was at, but we didn't hang out. So we knew each other, but we didn't hang out much. And we don't really remember. We just always
just kind of a slow. It wasn't like a boom. We just kind of like familiarity started happening, and it's like, what are you about? What do you do? And he'd always have the cool outfit on and the cool boots, and he just he fit in Tacoma, but he kind of always had his own Scott Stone style, and he kind of stood out because I didn't see a lot of people that kind of dressed and carried themselves in that manner. He seemed like someone that was from somewhere else. Well, because he was from everywhere else. That's why. Right. That's why.
Well, we found out that this was kind of interesting. So my mom I put my mom on the phone with Joe's dad, and because we're Italian. And during the conversation, they figured out that our grandfathers grew up within 40 kilometers of one another, and they came over at the same time, maybe on the same boat. We don't know for sure.
Right.
But, what are the odds that, and they're probably pretty good odds that our grandfathers knew each other.
Yeah.
Because my
they know each other in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loceto and Bari. My grandparents are from Loceto and Bari, and then they came over. My father worked on the railroads at Stampede Pass.
Are they from the same place in Italy?
No, my grandparents were from two different cities that were about 40 kilometers or so away from each other.
It was Bari and Calabria.
Yeah,
really
they're
close
all
to
So Bari is So
is it in the same area or?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it could be exactly the same area if it was Bari.
Yeah,
we don't know all the details, but there's a very good chance they were well acquainted, and I think that's just kind of funny. How would we know that?
Maybe your grandparents were friends, right?
Yeah.
We're not exactly sure. It'd be nice to be able to have that conversation.
Yeah, that's so interesting
to go there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about your growing up, Joe? Is it Washington?
What's that?
Did you guys meet in Washington?
Yeah. So my dad was a professional drug dealer on the hilltop area of Tacoma. He was a pharmacist. So he liked that joke. So he would like to call himself a professional drug dealer. So he practiced pharmacy at the University of Washington, and then went into business, and he went through a lot of things running his own business as far as partnerships and teaming up with doctors and all these things that I don't necessarily know if it was an intentional that he got into the situations that he did, or if it was out of things that happened. But he went through all these hoops, and I watched all these things happen, and it really made me awake and aware of business dealings and doctors and pharmaceutical sales. I mean, I could have went into pharmaceutical sales reps and made a killing if I wanted to, in more ways than one. Thinking about that, but it just never. I didn't want to do that. I've always been drawn to doing, I guess, what I wanted to do and figuring out my way of doing things, and it was usually through, either teaching or arts or music or running nightclub, running different establishments as far as booking the music. So just growing up around my dad and watching that, I questioned a lot, and then as I moved away and I went to college at Western Washington University, and I had a very, very challenging a stats teacher that was psychological statistics is really what it was, and you conduct your own experiment on it. But he had a real vendetta. He wanted to only pass 70% of his students, and he really did not like my lab partner. So he did whatever he could to make sure that we didn't pass. It was horrible. I mean, so I learned, from the education system, how messed up that could be. So then I finished school, and I lived in Sun Valley, Idaho, and I got into like restaurant work over there. And then eventually there was an opportunity to be an outdoor ed guide. People have probably heard of like Outward Bound, but I was an outdoor guide for a place called SEUS, School of Urban and Wilderness Survival. And so we would take kids in their 14, 15, 16 out into the desert on these 3-week trips. And basically they got themselves there and they were very angry. And I basically had to play kind of not full on Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but I had to allow them to be able to trust me, but they couldn't walk all over me. So they saw a lot of sides to my personality, and they didn't know what to do with it, because they usually try and figure someone out, and they're like, and I never gave them that. So I guess that helped contribute to my love of acting as well. But
you brought most of those kids back too, right?
Yeah, we brought them all back. Yeah, otherwise that'd be a real problem. Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely instrumental in my life as far as learning about, why are these kids getting, and that, this was 20 some years ago. Like, why are these kids dealing with a lot of these? They could have everything. They had a lot of them had great families. I mean, this school was $7,000 a year, right? Back then. And then, you can't just put a kid back in his former environment and expect him or her to just be healed. So then they'd have to go to boarding schools or different types of schooling where it's probably $25,000 to $50,000 a year. So, but I guess I started becoming aware of like, what's going on with the education system? Why are these kids, they're starting, getting to drugs early or whatever. So
were any of them struggling with gender?
No.
See that?
That wasn't even a thing.
Back then, no.
Not even. I mean, I don't think there might have been one girl that might have been lesbian, but I think that was about it.
No, that's different.
That's not even related.
Right.
But I'm just trying to like think about that.
It's what, like drug use and rebellion and
just behavioral and drug use and not respecting their parents. And so what was amazing is a week in, the first week group, they'd be walking through the desert and they'd be like, oh, there's another group of kids. And it's like, well, we orchestrated that, but they didn't know that, right? And so then they get to meet them and they're like, how long have you guys been here? And they're answering their questions. And the kids that have been there 3 weeks or almost 3 weeks, they become guides and mentors. Like, you can do it. And you can see them modeling a behavior. So the first week kids are like, you know what, maybe if I do things the way that they're telling me I should do them, then I can get out of here. And so they they start learning how to build fires and use compasses and relate to each other. And there was a talking stick. So let's say there was a group of 10 of us. Well, there was respect. So one person would have the talking stick and they would be talking and then they would hand it. So it was kind of a crash course in just respecting your fellow mankind. And also, what I'd let them know, they got themselves there. So if they want to get out of it, they need to listen to what we're telling them, because we can help guide them out of that. And if they knew, it's like, you can do this your way and you can stay here for months, or you can do what we suggest and you'll likely get out of here in 3 weeks. And so that was really it was using the elements. I mean, the land and the elements and, the rain and the diet and all these things played a massive role in helping these kids learn that they could do things, and that, it was, when it's really cold and you don't tie your sleeping bag the right way, there's consequences. So there's immediate consequences to your action. If you don't cook your food properly, well, you're going to be eating rice and lentils that's not cooked very well. So I think that's the thing, is there's immediate consequences. And so it helps them, learn this stuff relatively quickly compared to just, lollygagging and in town, I suppose.
Well, and now Joe takes groups of liberals out into the desert and
the ones that watch Truthstream.
But he doesn't bring them back. That's the thing.
God.
Oh my God.
Kidding.
Yeah, so, that's I guess that's a big chunk of how I got to where I am. So
Nice. That was a good point, though, Scott, about the. Did any of them question their gender then?
Yeah, it wasn't
well, it's a different set of. I mean, the kids aren't drinking as much now, which is great. They are doing drugs, I think, probably more, and with fentanyl, that's terrifying. We've lost friends and whatnot, some of them very young, but it's a whole nother set of problems, and I think it's even tougher for parents to relate at this point.
Yeah.
So were you doing that? Like, when were you doing that with the kids and stuff? And then
it was early 2000-ish, late 90s. And so, that's when, and I loved doing it, but I didn't know, living outside and not really having a place for nearly 2 years after a while, I grew up, the school I went to, there's a lot of really wealthy people and doctors and lawyers. So I never really knew where I was going to fit in with that, because there was no degree per se in college that I wanted to be. And what's interesting now is, and I just went out with a bunch of my friends from high school last week, and it's so different how I feel about myself now when I see them compared to 10, 20 years ago, because I've been floundering for so many years. Like, what am I going to, because there's a lot of people that bartend and they might want to bartend their whole lives. But for me, it's like, it was always a stepping stone, but I didn't know where to take it. So now that I do this, the conversations are incredible, the people that I meet. And what's interesting is 3 of my friends are having very, well, it's the whole gender thing you're talking about. One of my close friends, his nephew is now, post-op niece in the, I guess that's what he wants to be identified as, especially if you take care of your penis and you don't have it anymore. So there's that. Another one of my friends who's a doctor, one of his kids is born a girl and now is going by they, them, and is really isolated and not doing very well. And that was hard to hear. So it's really interesting what people are having to deal with now being parents. I mean, it's a total different world than it used to be, I'd say, with that subject matter.
That's so dangerous. It's like destroying like kids and self-esteem. And that's why public school is so dangerous.
Well, to do so intentionally, it's pretty obvious that this is intentional. I mean, it's kind of like Yuri Bezmenov talked about in 1974 or 6 or whatever, that this is how you demoralize a country. I mean, our country's been targeted for a long time, and they were largely very successful in demoralizing us. I mean, look where we're at. But I think we got really lucky with Trump in that regard, because it was cyclical prior to him. It really was.
I mean, this seems like the Democrats are just ignoring so many things, and the political correctness, and you can't say that, and you have to say it this way, and like it's like they're pushing things under a cover, and we're not going to deal with that, and it's mounting, and it's there's a ton of people who have been transitioned and regret it. And you can't do that. And you especially can't do that to children. And that's all we're saying. I mean, we're not like any kind of like far right or any of that. I don't even know if I would call myself a Republican, but
No. Yeah, I know.
I don't think I would. But like, from what I've seen over and over, it's like the Democrats will like label and use their words, and then they're just ignoring abuse, they're ignoring human transporting, they're ignoring the hypocrisy that how we're don't touch my body, like hands off my body, but then they want to go ahead and like promote that at the same time. And it's just the hypocrisy is so off the charts. And I actually have friends, a lot of Democrat friends, and several of them like don't even believe that they are transitioning kids. Don't even say, it's such a small, tiny percentage that it's doesn't even matter, kind of. That's the attitude they have, and they're just not even acknowledging it. And I'm like, it's clearly obvious if you even just look at the Hollywood celebrities and their children, what they've done. Like, so what it's really bothering me that a whole group of people is just ignoring all of this, and then but wanting Trump to be accountable, for dismantling things in Iran. It's just the hypocrisy is off the charts right now.
It's Saul Alinsky's playbook. I mean, it's ridiculous. These people don't believe what they're saying. It's a means to an end. But when you've got we'll call it a trend that results in 80% suicide, which I think is roughly how that pans out with these transitioning folks, that's not something you want to encourage. Just based on the fact that it I mean, suicide, I think for most of us, that's a pretty bad outcome. Seriously,
I don't think you can get much worse.
Well, I mean, the Canadians might get confused about that because their government sponsors suicide,
right?
Now, kind of a thing. Not to disparage Canadians, we have so many Canadian friends.
Some are watching the show,
exactly. But that's the kind of thing. I mean, there's a larger picture of what they're going for, and it's pretty much to eliminate God, I think. Yeah.
It's an abomination, and it's like calling right wrong and wrong right, and it's exactly the opposite.
The inversion. They invert everything. I mean, that's just like you said, the Hollywood. Because if the Hollywood, I mean, think of it like we have a friend. We're not going to say names, but her sister is a teacher, and there's 3 or 4 girls that are becoming boys, and it's very normalized now. And if they look to celebrities as role models, and they're like, well, the celebrities are doing it, and so now the celebrities have the inverted kids, and the celebrities themselves are likely, some of them are inverted themselves, but that's the part that the public may not know yet. It's just it's normalizing it, so they don't see it. It's almost like like the jabs, like they're starting to see maybe more quickly that it's not what they were told. And so maybe with this inversion thing, now that there's a lot more rules coming out. In fact, yesterday I just shared something on my Facebook about that I think it was this morning, that they're not going to be, some of these programs, or all of them, I think are no longer going to be funded. And so this is huge, and hopefully it's a wake-up call, because if someone wants to do that later in life, well, I don't think any of us have an issue with that if that's a choice. But the issue is because it's children, and that's where I'm not going to be quiet. That's where, and I think most people in this movement, we care more about kids and humanity than we do what people think about us. I don't care what people think about me. What is my why? My why is to help kids and to help humanity. So it doesn't matter, because I think my why, I don't know of a better one. So I don't care what people think about me.
Well, I mean, we're watching them try to take satanic ritual abuse mainstream, and they've been largely effective in doing so. And the cult of celebrity really helped them out. You look at all the Disney kids, and they start out as wholesome and sweet, and they end up as sex kittens, like Miley Cyrus or whatever, that kind of thing.
Britney was on Disney, so just look at Britney's transition.
Oh, yeah. No, and I think it's even more severe these days.
But it's a lot of them.
Yeah. Disney's behind a lot of really ugly stuff. But
they really are. They really are. There's 2 examples I wanted to give real quick. Like JoJo Siwa just recently came out and was saying that Disney is the one that told her to come out as bisexual. So that just came out.
Oh.
And also something that I saw. So I don't know if any of you watch reality TV. I am guilty.
Not much anymore.
It's a secret.
God just watches The Bachelor.
No. The one I got caught up in was the Below Deck for a minute, just because I love sailing, and it was great
that sounds cool.
Okay, but for the reality people, Kyle Richards, like she was one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. For the people that know, but Kyle Richards, she was recently in a post and hanging out with someone who was raising money, and his shirt said, "Fund abortion, not war." Celebrities calling to fund abortion, not war.
Wow.
Like, what kind of a sick, twisted mind comes up with that? Oh, let's take the money from the war and fund it to babies.
Human sacrifice, right? I mean, it wasn't long ago they were chopping off heads and rolling them down the pyramid, and that
and
was
Michelle recently came out too and was saying that, the least of which mothers do is give life. Like mothers are so much more important than just giving life, she was saying. It's just
Michelle who?
Michael.
I thought that's who you might be talking about.
Right.
Big Mike. Yeah.
Because he knows what it's like to be a woman.
Right. Becoming Michelle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right in the title of the book.
How's that podcast going, by the way?
I don't know. Will they have one episode?
No, I think there's a few, but it got progressively just off the cliff.
I think it started halfway off the cliff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But okay, so all of this, we are in this big fog of war right now. So if we could zoom out to the big spiritual perspective, we've been saying we've been in the end of the movie for years now. So, but there are some big crescendos. I mean, you got to think Trump got shot in the ear and then was shot out again. Those are huge things. I didn't believe it was real. I do believe it was faked and all that. But I mean, some big things have happened. And then, with him being back in office and all these big steps and then Iran and everything. But so where do you guys think we're at in this spiritual war right now?
Well, I think that there was many more attempts on his life than those were just the ones that were publicized.
Right.
They found a guy in a lobby of Trump Tower with a unserialized, not that it was filed off, it was an unserialized clock with a military suppressor, and the guy's resume was kind of like Jason Bourne, guy never existed, kind of a thing. There was the missile launch off of Whidbey Island here. That missile was tied to a arms deal that Nancy Pelosi was involved with. There were several others that never really saw the light of day. But as far as the spiritual war, spoiler alert, God wins and God's winning. And we kind of knew it was going to work out that way. And it's been kind of spectacular to see how that's playing out. And I think we're almost there.
Yeah.
I really do.
I definitely agree with that. I felt it the last few days. There is some kind of, I don't know, there's definitely a heaviness to what's going on. And I try to not get caught up in the mainstream narrative of it. But yeah, it's pretty amazing to see, because I knew a few years back, like we got to start seeing this stuff in the mainstream news, stuff that at least people are questioning, or that getting them to think and to watch the shift since Trump's got in office. It's like it was lollygagging for so long, just getting, just so you just feel like you're in this, I don't know, like this stew of gunk. And now finally, what's that?
Like quicksand.
Yeah. And finally it's like we're getting out of it, and things are happening at really a breakneck speed. So it's pretty amazing. But yeah, completely a spiritual. I mean, I remember as a kid, I went to Catholic school, and I found it intriguing, but more like folklore. And I remember thinking, like, if this was ever actually going on, I would totally be on the front lines of this. That's what I thought. And then it's like, okay, well, makes sense to why I'm doing a podcast about it, because I can't really go out with, it wouldn't really make sense to do this any other way. I mean, the social, World War III is really having shows like this, and our phone, what have you. But here I am. I mean, I had some intuition a long time ago that if we really were in a world that is spiritual, because I question, not that I was ever atheist, but I'm like, why is the world, because it could be, I always thought humanity could be so much better than it is. And then once I heard of the trafficking of children and why problems don't get fixed, that they want this perpetual, nothing ever getting solved world, it all made sense. So I never, as soon as I heard that, I was like, yep, that's what it is. And that's why I wanted to get involved, because it made sense to me. And I do believe in a previous lifetime, Scott was there for this reading down in Shasta about 4 years ago. I got a reading, and I was likely, and many people that are watching this probably were too, I was one of the kids that was trafficked. Now, granted, I don't remember it. It was 5 lifetimes ago, 250 years ago. I was in a cave under England somewhere, and I was 8 years old, and I was surrounded by creepy crawly things, and I ended up dying as a young boy. That was the reading that I got done. But it made sense to me. It's like, that's why I got so motivated to do this, because I'm thinking, like, if you're a parent and you're hearing a kid scream down the street, I don't know, because I'm not one, but I would think most parents would be like, oh my God, what can I do? It doesn't matter which child that is. There's a kid that's screaming, and that kid needs help. And I think that's the role that a lot of us feel compelled to do this, because we want to do something to stop that suffering. And so it doesn't have to be your own kid to help a kid. I think that's why we do what we do. In fact, it gives us the time to do something like this, because I watched my mom raise me and 5 other kids. It's a lot of work. You're a mom.
Well, we've all been kids.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. Some of us still are, I guess, in many
some
ways,
more than others. I don't know which
thing.
one of us is, but
both of us, I think, we're the old guys on the longboards, riding down the hill in the neighborhood, sort of a thing.
He said, you don't have to help a kid to have a kid to help a kid.
Right.
So sweet. So important. Seriously.
It's made it a lot easier not having kids. I'll tell you, I'd be sitting on the porch with a shotgun, waiting for my kids to come home. I'd probably be in jail by now. After what I've seen parents have to put up with, I don't think I would have been very well cut out for that.
It's hard. Like Laura Logan and April Baird, like her assistant, they're battling the Fredericksburg school district right now because they're like not taking out the pornographic books. They're fighting them on it. And then they're talking about how like they don't have time and what kind of time could this take. And then there's been like volunteers for years to do this, and they're just dragging their feet and then like silencing the parents that speak out. I mean, do you have Laura Logan came to their school board and schooled them.
What?
This is how she said, this is exactly how you can, you know, have human transporting, how that can affect students. And she explained the ways they do it through the propaganda, and that's how it is. And she explained it all on how these bad effects can happen from these things, from these books. And these books are also like banned in jail. Like they can't have them in jail, but they can have them in the high schools. Like it's just so messed up. I'm like, there needs to be like a place where you can report the Department of Education for these travesties on children. It just needs to be that way. I mean, it's led by the director of education. I can't remember her name, but her boss is literally Trump. She's under Trump, the Department of Education. So it's like,
who's doing it now? I know it was Betsy DeVos, and I've since heard some stories about that family.
I looked her name up the other day. I don't remember, but
who can defend?
Yeah, like everywhere.
How is the left getting away with defending these things? I mean, it's just pure. Why are we sexualizing children? You know, I mean, how is that not abundantly, obviously evil? You know, I mean, I guess we could call it mental illness. That's a little bit kinder.
Well, there's a new show that Clojo talked about. Now, this is a joke, but I think it's a great title.
Yeah, I put that up. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Because, I mean, that's the thing. I think what's going to be hard for people to wrap their heads around that are not aware of this is how many Satanists, pedophiles, NPCs, whatever is going on out there, people that would do this to children. I don't think that they're people. I mean, there's something really, really, really off and really damaged to do this.
Well, Crowley was arguably one of the most influential people ever. He influenced Jack Parsons, who was a big devotee of Thelema, which was the religion, I guess we'll call it, created by Aleister Crowley. And through Parsons, it really became a big part of the military-industrial complex. And, that trickles down to everybody, but it trickles upwards as well to leadership and so on and so forth. And it has been pure evil, and I know people like to just dismiss it as satanic or whatever, for lack of a better word, but mostly it's Baal worship, which is characterized primarily by child sacrifice, and whether it's your stance on abortion or whether it's frazzle drip, two sides of the same spectrum. It's
or child mutilation.
It's a devotion to
a gender affirming care.
Yeah, and there's nothing new about it. That's an ancient tradition in many ways. Hard to believe it could survive and thrive like it has. However, I really think that people are finally seeing beyond that. I don't think there's any room for that anymore.
Well, just like she said, the way that they title something, the gender affirming care, it's to do what exactly? Excuse me. It's
genius, really, because they're affirming the positive, and you're thinking you're doing a good thing, right?
Yep. They're really good at it. The whole like Black Lives Matter. It's like, what? Wait a second. But they matter every 4 years for your vote? Like what? They're so good at this stuff. It's amazing.
Well, like the LGBT thing used to be, and I know I'm left a few letters off. They keep adding them, but I mean, it used to be, I love my husband, and why can't we express our love in the same way, sort of a thing. And it's sort of like an appeal to compassion and whatnot. But look at what it's become. I mean, now we have Pride Month, we have Mother's Day, and we all came from a mother. Seems like something we'd really want to celebrate.
And we have Veterans Day. We only celebrate the military for one day.
Right. But when you see these parades and you see
there's people literally naked.
Well, it's debasement, debauchery, and whatnot on a level that I mean, certainly we don't want children emulating these things. We just don't.
Sure.
Yeah, that's you said it best, Klojo. That really is kind of what it's about. And
Amy has a good point, though. This is one of our regular viewers.
Yes.
It's not really doing too well anymore.
No. Now it'll be Pride Hour, and it'll mostly be us complaining. Right?
Pride Hour.
So I recently heard something, and it was this like 4-minute clip, and it was really good. It was about this woman saying that right now she feels like there's two kinds of people in this world. There's like the audience A, and that's like us, who's like went down the rabbit holes and researched a lot and have a better awareness of what things are going on. And then there's audience B, and those are the people that are on the other side against us and defending these atrocities. And at some point, there's going to be an event where at the end of it, even audience B will support Trump even more than us, because they'll realize who the true enemy is. Like,
yeah, that sounds like Bria, the woman we interviewed. Was she on? She was on News Trees. The one that's talking about we're watching a movie. Does that sound right?
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what her name was, but I mean, the clip that I saw, there was just several different people on it.
Okay.
And I don't think I saw who was talking.
Yeah,
Maybe
it was. Yeah, there was a girl a woman that was on News Trees, and then we had her on, and she's basically she didn't want to show her face because she's still working in that field in one way or another with colleagues where she doesn't really want her name actually and face out there. But yeah, that's what she was saying. Exactly.
Well, the left has got a lot more to be angry about, right? I mean, they've been deceived to a far greater degree. You know, when they find out the truth, those of them that are willing to admit it, I suppose, because that's sort of an ego death or something in and of itself. But they're going to have a lot more to be angry about, because they made a lot of life choices, whether it was with their children or with their bodies or whatever they might have done, that they're probably going to have a lot of regret about.
I'm just wondering, like, what kind of event is going to cause that? Because I mean, we could speculate all day, but
Right.
I mean, right now, like I literally, like, someone I really love and have supported for like 26 years told me, like, just because I support Trump, like, how do you respect yourself as a woman? And so it was just like, I was thinking in my head, like, yeah, it was just a totally random, totally unexpected. But how is a person like that gonna like wake up to, like, Trump is actually doing good work? So
That makes me think.
I don't know what's going to happen or what has to happen to wake people up, or I don't know if the 10 days of darkness is going to actually, or the 10 days on the TV or whatever, if that's going to happen. I don't know how or what, but I don't know what in God's green earth could happen that could just make this all come together and make us all unite. Like, it's a scary time, but something's got to happen in order to unite the people, because we've just been clashing for so long. So I don't know.
I think we're going through a dimensional bifurcation is what I think is happening. I think we're meeting the moment. I think that's why, this movie we're watching or whatnot, why everything feels so delayed and so on. I don't think anyone knew exactly when this would happen. But they knew it was coming. Look at the solar weather right now. It's off the hook. The Schumann resonance, I mean, really for the last decade, it's been highly irregular, but lately, wow. And we have, it's largely unreported, but we're having all these earthquakes and tectonic activity all over the world, weather anomalies, all sorts of different things that are just off the charts. And many people believe that the energy coming from the sun, the light coming from the sun, is affecting us at a DNA level, and it would make sense that we're meeting the moment, like with AI and so on and so forth. This could very easily turn very dark and destructive. But if we evolve a bit, which I think we're in the process of doing, then it becomes a real benefit, and we really do enter the golden age, which I think it's in process.
Right. Right. Chelsea, are you familiar with Dr. David Martin's work?
Just a little bit on y'all's show. Like, I've seen a couple.
Okay. Because I attended a workshop, and actually what was really cool is to see Pastor Dave Bryan, who runs Church of Glad Tidings, and the event Rev 17, which Scott went to, and he was part of David Martin's 12 Senses class in 2024. And so my point is, humanity has 12 cranial nerves. We have 12 senses. Those have been hidden from us. And I'm going to play this clip because it helps kind of tie together that people need to become aware, first of all, that we have the 12 senses. Then they might want to look into what those 12 senses are. And in this minute clip, he actually addresses AI compared to the 12 senses. Because if we all knew and had and operated on our fully functioning 12 senses, we likely wouldn't be in this mess that we're in. So, and I think this is what's going to be coming to the world. And I don't exactly know how this is going to get out to everybody, because it's an analog class. I mean, you go through it for 3 or 4 days in person, but I'm going to play this clip so people can get exposed to Dr. David Martin and our 12 senses and his take on AI versus 12 senses. So here we go.
As I said before, I teach a course called the 12 Senses course. We have 12 cranial nerves, which means we have 12 direct wired into our brain senses. Since Aristotle, Chris, we've only been authorized to acknowledge 5 of the 12.
Oh, yeah.
So here's a tiny little problem. Is AI going to actually pick up the other 7 intelligences, the other 7 senses, the other 7 attributes of human awareness that we don't even acknowledge and have not acknowledged since Aristotle? Is there any chance that we're going to build a machine where the inputs based on about 2.7 of our neurologic capacity senses? Is there any worry that a 2.7 machine-based AI is going to compete with a fully functioning 12 cranial nerve, 12 sense human? And the answer is, doesn't have a chance.
Interesting. So you're saying there was 12 and we're only using 5.
Right. And actually, we're only using about 2.7 is what he's saying. Using them maybe at their capacity. But yeah, we don't even know that we have these. I mean, I'm beginning to learn, obviously, because I took the class. I mean, I still have a ways to go, I think, before I'm utilizing all of them properly. But I think it's good for people to know that, because when that subject does come up, the whole AI thing can be pretty scary. I mean, people, it's obvious sometimes, like, for example, if you have a very large dog that's doing diving and doing flips and stuff that looks like a person. Okay, that's obviously AI. But there's a lot of things now. Like, for example, I think it was 2017? The University of Washington actually made an artificial Obama, and there was one person talking, but their voice through modulation and the movements of their face on the screen, it looked just like Obama was talking. And that's why we don't exactly know what we're watching in the news with masks and CGI and doubles and clones and who knows what the heck we're watching.
But I think isn't it kind of apparent that this is deliberate? The rule of thumb used to be 15 years, whatever DARPA's working on, we'd find out 15 years later. But I think that distance grew rather significantly at one point. And I think they've been using AI for a long time. I think they've been capable of these deep fakes and capable of showing us an alternative reality and telling us to believe it. And we've always viewed the media as an authority on these things. So we went along with it. This shows us, hey, my mom will tell me stories about what she heard or what she thought. And she'll say, I saw it with my own eyes. I said, did you see it on a TV? She'll say, yes. Well, you can't exactly assume that's reality.
Right.
And, where we're going with this, I don't know. But at least people are more open to having to work for the truth and maybe becoming aware of the fact that, yeah, we've been duped. We've been manipulated. We've been lied to. I mean, openly now people are talking about all the false flags that got us into all these wars. That's a fairly recent phenomenon.
Right.
It used to be, try questioning the official story of 9/11, within a couple of years of 9/11 happening. You hated your country. And, there was all sorts of criticism. People wouldn't open their mouth about it.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, and I think that's another advantage too, why we do like doing lives, because not only are we don't exactly know where the conversation's going to go, but then we get input from the audience as well. And so it's a way of unity. It's a way of communicating in a way like, yeah, we may be the ones hosting the shows, but it's really important to have their interaction. So first of all, thank you guys for your interaction. Because sometimes if we have a question, the audience is like, hey, here's the answer. So it really helps, but it's really special. I'd love to see any newscaster, and I'll challenge them. I'd love to see, and there's some out there. I know Mark from News Treason has a gentleman on that is a newscaster that's now doing this, but let's see you guys do shows like this without a script. How's that going to work out? I'd love to see that. So you want to come on our show and try it out? Now, this is our 451st episode, by the way. So
yeah, if we stop doing lives, we've probably figured out how to get AI to do this for us.
I'll never do that.
So maybe we'll have 5 shows a week.
Oh, God. No AI. No, I don't want an AI Joe. Thank you. There's enough of me. Oh, God.
Well, it seems like a possible way for that to happen is to, have what we want to happen, which is basically we want to see justice, and we want to see people go to jail for crimes against humanity. And we want to see these evil injustice systems fall. And, it's hard to know who we can trust right now. Like, I know something just came out about RFK, and I don't even know if it's true or not because I haven't looked into it, but that he said that mRNAs are safe. I don't even know. But there's just so much triggering information right now. I think we should just all just be careful what we maybe just take the higher perspective or take a little step back when we need to, because it can be stressful trying to keep up. And we also have to remember that this movie is not for us. Right. I mean, it's for everyone, but it is to wake the sleepers. So if there are things that are triggering for you, we're just going to have to get through this and spray on the Pam and get through these times, because we don't know what's coming. There could be some crazy times. I don't know what kind of crazy effery has to happen to change X amount of percentage people's mind about the whole world. I don't know what or how or, what kind of calamity or bad things have to happen in order for us to rise above it all.
Right. Are you, first of all, there's a nice avocado oil spray that I'd use instead of Pam, but are you a trust the plan woman? I'm a trust. I trust that it's not just humans, that there's some kind of divine or off world or something is also assisting in this. And I do believe ever since, and I thought it anyway, but we had Derek Johnson on our show, I don't know, probably almost half a year to a year ago at this point. And he said, this plan has been going on since the 40s. And that really, that helps me feel rest assured that, there's things going on that we may not know exactly what those are. They may appear like, oh my gosh, but it's they've got this, so I'm that gives me confidence.
The Trump Israel thing is a perfect example. A lot of people were really, really pissed off at Trump. he recently truthed out, some glowing comments about Bibi Netanyahu. But people have to understand Israel's kind of a coiled snake. It's a very dangerous situation, and you have to handle it very carefully. And you have to engage in some theater. I mean, that's art of war stuff. So, it's just, let's not rush to judgment. I think we've been in pretty good hands. We've made a lot of progress over the last decade.
Yeah, think where we are now compared to 6 months ago. Like, it's incredible.
I mean, a lot of people are thinking, oh God, here comes the double cross, but really think that through. Does it make a lot of sense that it would be a double cross given what we've seen now?
I'm gonna pull up something, not quite yet, but of RFK talking about trafficking in containers. So, but go ahead. It's gonna take me a second.
Yeah, well, and now P. Diddy is going to walk, apparently, which
I don't think it's not going to.
Well, no, they are saying that's going to happen, but that sort of like Epstein killed himself, according to Cash and Bongino. Why are they saying these things? I don't know. I think we're going to find out. I think it's part of the movie. It certainly isn't part of reality. So,
yeah, Cash is losing points a few times with me lately, seeing some of this stuff. But then also he's with the election stuff is coming out and saying it was.
I love
in 2020.
Yeah, I love Tucker Carlson, and I'm going to continue to love him, even though he had such harsh words for Trump. Candace Owens went a little over the top with it, I think, and some others. But I think it's easy to rush to judgment. These are emotional times, and if you lead with your or if you follow your emotions, you're probably gonna jump the gun on a few conclusions.
It's the people in their ears,
Yeah.
Like the haters.
It's clicks. You get a whole lot more attention when you're, extreme.
Right.
And
oh yeah, here it is. Okay. I'm gonna play this clip. Actually, I'm gonna post it right now because I didn't post the right one where people can actually watch him say this, because this is pretty powerful. So this is RFK and talking about the human trafficking. Okay, 1 second. Let me pull this up for you guys. Pretty powerful stuff. The Biden administration allowed migrant children to be taken to addresses where there were just shipping containers. So give me 1 second and I'll pull this up for you guys.
HHS is guilty, and Ruben Becerra is the one who was in charge of it. And he had Tara Rodas fired. And if you haven't heard of this story, you can check out the whistleblower testimony of Tara Rodas. She's the Project Veritas whistleblower initially. But yeah, she used to work for HHS, and they were placing the kids, and they didn't even have to have any income requirements, and they didn't even have to be legal. So they were placing them with illegals, some of them with 4 adult males in one home.
Wow.
And it's all fact. It's all proof. So yeah, it's real. And we can't deny this anymore.
No. Okay, I'll play this for you guys. Here we go.
Yeah.
Lost track of all those children is because they were emphasizing speed over security. And there were political reasons for that. They wanted to get the kids out of U.S. custody, so they were handing them off to anybody. They didn't require background checks. They didn't require identification even. I've watched horror stories of the same person picking up child after child after child, using different names and different addresses. One of the addresses was a strip club. One of the addresses was a parking lot. One of the addresses was an empty lot that was filled with shipping containers. And this character was getting all these kids. One person got 42 kids to one address. What we're doing now is DNA testing on every sponsor. We're doing personal identification. We're doing background checks, and we're doing income verification.
Thank you, Mr.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if I'm telling a friend this, right? And they're like, I told Scott this before. Not that I don't believe certain things that he was telling me years ago, but like I need to hear it from someone else. And now we've got RFK talking about it. I mean, tell me we haven't made some progress here.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And remember, he's won several defamation lawsuits. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I always remind my mother, do you remember the conversation we had in 2017? And I told you, in the end, and I gave her a whole list of things that would be happening in the world. And most of them have happened already. There's a few more that I kind of hope we can avoid. But, it's like, do I get a little credibility? It's not like I had a crystal ball or anything.
wow.
And we've kind of all been talking about this for a long time. And it's kind of like if you've already read the script and now you're watching the movie for a lot of us.
Right.
Which is a little frustrating, but
well, yeah, I think that's what's so hard. It's like you're like screaming to people like this is actually going on, and until the whole world really realizes it's going on, you can't get rid of it. And I mean, I do hope and pray that it actually is completely eviscerated at some point, and I think that's part of things being biblical. And I think there's never been an awakening of humanity knowing that this is actually going on ever at once before, with different people talking about it and it being backed up, etc. And I do think the good part of something like AI, being able to, from what I've heard, read intentions of people, is so that we can live in a world, because obviously humanity has proven over and over again that we are not capable as a whole to live in a way of do unto others as you'd have done to you. Because anyone that traffics a kid, I mean, have you been a kid who's trafficked? Because if you were, then you may not be doing this unless you're so damaged and abused that that's the only thing that you know how to do. But I think that's my point, is that if we can live in a world where through a technology that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Benevolent, somehow tied in with technology and spirituality, that it can help humanity live to our potential, then that part of it I do welcome, I suppose, because how else are you going to stop this shit?
Well, Amy pointed out just now very well, just MK Ultra. We've all been MK Ultra to some degree. This has been a very successful program on all of us. And when you think about it, we grew up trusting the information that was given to us by the media. And that was the weapon largely that was used to brainwash most of us. But socially, there have been massive consequences for speaking up about the truth. And I think everyone in the audience, anyone watching this show, has certainly confronted it. You're ostracized. If you look at Maslow's work, Maslow's hierarchy, one of the most important steps in self-actualization or human needs is belonging to something. And for everyone that decided to point out the truth, they were ostracized. That was taken away. It was a massive sacrifice. I mean, that you feel deep, and for a lot of folks, that was too large of a price to pay. Granted, a lot of people are just straight up delusional at this point, but we're winning, and I think we're getting to the point where it's becoming obvious who had integrity, and hopefully that becomes a model for the future. Hopefully people won't fall for this kind of thing anymore. I don't think it's possible that we can slip back into what we had become, as a species after what we're living through now. And that's pretty incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Is it okay if we talk about spiritual attacks real quick, and then we can kind of wrap it up?
Absolutely. Please.
Yeah. So have you guys feel like you've been spiritually attacked or just verbally attacked, for the work that you've done? I mean, sure you have, but
Yeah.
how much we talking? A lot.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been pretty bold, and I remember coming out on Facebook talking about this subject matter in 2020 when COVID really started. Because my dad was a very, very well loved and respected pharmacist professional in the Tacoma area, and I just thought, well, I'm Mike Rosati's son. People know what my intentions are. They know I come from a good family, so I'm going to just say this stuff. And Scott, 4 years before, was like, "Oh man, I got in those Facebook wars and blah 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 blah." But I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway. And man, it was brutal. It was really brutal. And I'm just like trying to help people. I mean, one of my friends, he's an artist and a great songwriter, and you would think that he would be aware of this stuff, and he just thought I was batshit crazy. I mean, absolutely off my rocker. Like,
You mean the one that went batshit crazy?
well, maybe that's the jabs. I don't want to get into labels, but it was very, he didn't want to be associated with me in any way, shape, or form because I was talking negatively about Hillary Clinton and it went off the rails. But yeah, just like almost trying to pit my brothers against me online on Facebook. And it was just like, and he's like, what do you care about children? You're not a dad. And I'm like, what the fuck does that matter, dude? What does that got to do with anything? So yeah, it's been,
don't care about children.
Yeah, well, because he thought it was weird that I was so focused on letting people know about what's going on with children and all these things. And so he just, I guess he just wanted to attack me somehow. And like, you're not even a dad. Why is there this new found, like right-wing zeal in his mind? I think that's what he saw. And he just, because I was kind of a Bernie bro, I was just like, okay, well, I was never really into politics. Well, it's not politics that woke me up. It's that they're hurting kids. And so once you start seeing that, like, first of all, he didn't really accept that part, the trafficking and the adrenochrome and all that. And you're like, no. Well, if you don't see that, because once you see that, you can see everything else so much more clearly. It's really important to realize that human trafficking and what they're doing to kids is real, because then it's like putting on glasses. Then you can kind of see that these conspiracy theories actually make way more sense than the lies. But if you're not there, if you're not questioning 911, if you really think buildings, fall down on their own from planes or something else, that's a whole other thing that we've delved into in the last year or two, instead of the official or the original conspiracy theory of 911. You can't begin to see this stuff. So when I talk to people, like when you read the room, if they can't even at least question 911, well, you can't really even go anywhere else.
But even regardless of the circumstances, at the end of the day, we all have to look ourselves in the mirror, and hopefully you like what you see. That's just very, very important. And I think it was abundantly clear to Joe and I when we learned the extent of the human trafficking and what was happening to kids. It's just, if you don't drop everything to fight that fight, how are you going to look yourself in the mirror and like what you see? That just became more important than anything else. And, I still have friends that just doubt it, and they just keep doubting that the validity of it, even though it's becoming more and more abundantly, true. It's very inconvenient, to make the decision to walk this path that I think, like I said, everyone in the audience here to some degree is walking. You have to accept a lot of personal sacrifice to do so. But I think the greater sacrifice is inaction.
Absolutely.
To know and to not do anything about it.
How do you live with yourself? I couldn't.
Exactly.
Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this, and nor would you.
Yeah.
And every time for years.
Yeah.
But part of it, you mentioned spiritual attacks, and I mean, there's been specific instances and strange anomalies and all sorts of things that have happened repeatedly. Even recently, I pretty much lost my voice for 3 days. These things happen, but
he was getting ready. He was going to be in a Backstreet Boys cover band.
yeah,
and
ruined the whole audition
Ain't
and everything.
nothing but
For real?
Not at all. Not even.
No, no, we have to throw in some ridiculous humor at times just to keep going.
No, but I think largely what we're seeing, when you see, especially like libs of TikTok level, folks that are just spouting, just it goes beyond nonsense and it just becomes evil. And I really think that there's, for lack of a better word, demonic forces at work in these people. I think they're largely being operated by something that isn't them. I really do. It's the only real explanation I can come up with. I tend to believe that mankind is generally speaking altruistic. We care about one another, with some notable exceptions, of course. That has not been exhibited from that side of the aisle much. Or I don't want to let the Republicans or the neocons or whatever off the hook. Political affiliation really says very little about your character, generally speaking. But how else would you explain, some of the behaviors, like the pedophilia alone? Joe and I have talked about that. We grew up, you always heard stories, but I really thought that was a very limited thing. I had no idea the scope and scale.
So rare. Like I remember
taking place.
Just a couple instances of it. No, it was.
And how can you participate in something like that? I mean, what on earth would motivate a person, to harm a child in that way, other than just pure evil?
Yeah, I'd
or having been a victim.
Right.
Oftentimes it really
that's that gray area when they say, if a pedophiles should be, the death penalty. What do you do with those ones that they were abused their whole life as children? Like that's a really tough. I don't know what you do. That's got to be either off-world healing or dealing straight with Jesus Christ. Like there's something that's way beyond, I think, the scope of mankind to help facilitate that type of topic.
Yeah, trauma can warp a person irrevocably. We've interviewed a lot of SRA survivors and so on, and watched a number of interviews. I'm thinking about those British kids.
The little blonde kids.
And
Jesus.
They're saying so as a matter of factly, stating what had happened to them and so on. And there's a detachment and a coldness, and it's really very creepy. But that's the human response to that level of trauma.
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some crazy shit is gonna have to happen.
Crazy shit's happening every day.
On the other side of this, because it is dark and thick and kind of scary and hairy.
Right.
And we don't know what other kind of hairy stuff is gonna pop out. But we're grounded in truth and we're united together. So
exactly,
we're gonna be okay no matter what.
We've come a long way. I mean, Target replaced their their transgender clothing display with something far more patriotic now. There's comedy's back.
That's right.
People are speaking about a lot of things that you wouldn't have dare spoken about unless you're us. But 5 years ago, even. So,
yeah.
I think we're treading in a really great direction, and I don't think it's going to be very long before some pretty spectacular events change things far more aggressively.
Well, you might even get your Backstreet Boy / stand-up comedy routine going.
What's going on?
Well, yeah, the other day he's.
I was already on the way to the concert. I was gonna go support you.
He was singing. Tell me why. No. I was like, what?
No, I was
singing the Backstreet Boys.
Joe,
no, it ain't nothing but that one.
Joe happens to know.
I heard him.
He knows the words to all those songs. And
there's times I will. It's very, very rare because I'm usually listening to 80s
I have video
rock.
of it, guys. If you really want to see it.
Hey, I'd like to see it. But there's sometimes I'll just turn on that that guilty pleasure, like, you know, I gotta just hear a little Backstreet, a little Vanilla Ice, just you know, it just,
Those
you
are
know,
two very different things.
I know, but what I'm saying, then there's Candlebox, there's just, you know, there's certain bands that only those Foghat, you know, and then lately it's been Supertramp. I mean, a lot of this 70s stuff, but you know, do I normally listen to that stuff? No, but sometimes it's like, it's like that chocolate, that candy, you know, you have once in a while, but you don't need it for a while again. So
Boy George, I know he has to.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy George actually put out an incredible song with Peter Murphy about 4 or 5 months ago.
I haven't heard that.
It's incredible.
Wow.
It really is. So anyway, we covered a lot of good stuff today.
I think we should get Lewis Herms and Chad C.R. Stewart from Brett Fields and who else? We get Mark Atwood and start yourself a Truther boy band.
Oh god, that'd be good with Lewis Herms at at the heart of it all. That's funny. I think he's gonna have to wait till after the gubernatorial race. Or who knows? Maybe that would help.
Maybe if he goes into it soon, then the proceeds of being in the boy/man band.
That's a good point.
Right. Could
stay
help
out
Lewis.
Of fear. Yeah. No, the state. Right. Yeah, that is such a good point. Everybody remember that.
Yeah.
Because it's a choice. I mean, it really is a choice. Find your strength. It's in there.
Definitely. We are stronger than we know. And yes, in case you hadn't heard, Lewis Herms is running for California governor. I was just about to say that. So for any Californians.
Can I, you mind if I play a 2-minute clip of Lewis talking at that event?
Sure. The first time I met Lewis, he was at Michael Jaco's event. And we did like this whole I met him the night before because we had I was with them for a couple days and met his wife, I think. Yeah, and then during that remote viewing session, what he saw was just incredible, and he shared that with everybody. But He's a great human. I know you guys have spent a lot of time with him. What he's done bringing everybody together has been pretty incredible. Yeah, and most of the people that have been on the Truth Tour, they really respect him. I mean, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, I told him if he wins, I'll move to California.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love California. It's great. I mean, I'm coming from Washington. Washington is like a much crankier, more communist version of California now. It's
well, Joe, you'd have to go too.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of traveling, and some of it will be with each other, and some, you know, we'll be going doing different things. Like he actually just went to Rev 17 on his own.
It was awesome.
He's probably going to be spending more time in Costa Rica than I am pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
January, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how I could stay away after that experience. Amazing.
Okay, this is just a snippet. So I've done an edit for Dr. Christiane Northrup and for Lewis and for Laura Logan so far on our X accounts. And actually, I think all 3 of them are on our Rumble accounts as well, wherever you want to watch it. But this is Lewis. This is what he picked out from the edit to share with folks.
Yeah, the whole speech is great. It's well worth your time.
It's only 22 minutes, but here's just a part of it because it's amazing. Here we go.
Awesome.
Because I know there's some wonderful speakers behind. But why are we here? It's for the kids, right? And what are we trying to raise? Trying to raise funds, money. But ultimately, what is money? Money is energy, is it not? It's just a transition of energy from one place to another. I think it was Troy that was up here yesterday, and maybe Lee, that said, you know, maybe it's time to stretch a little. Maybe we need to stretch what we're comfortable with, right? And I've learned a long, long time, if you want to be the best you can be, you need to make yourself damn uncomfortable, right? So I think maybe we could take another look at money. I can tell you, you know, doing this, just the fact we started the Truth Tour, my wife and I lost everything, $2.5 million business. We just about literally lost everything. I'll be honest, tell everybody right here, we don't own a house. We rent. It is what it is, right? But we're doing this for the children. So I talked to her yesterday, I said, let's stretch. So it's a stretch, but her and I talked yesterday, and I'm going to challenge everybody to do what you can, but what we can do today, as soon as I get off stage, we're going to donate $1,000 herself. And I don't tell you that to tell you that we're cool. I'm telling you that just to tell you that everybody can stretch a little bit past their comfort zone, because this isn't just about saving 350 children. This is about saving all the children. Because Piece of Heaven will be a model for the future. And our energy will move from our bank accounts to saving the future. This is not about us. It's about our children and the children after that and the children after that. The cabal thinks in multi-generational operations. We have trouble getting to the weekend, right? But we got this. This is God's energy. God bless you, and the meek have already inherited the earth.
Nice.
Wow. I just,
Love that guy.
you can't get a better person. I've never even, there's very few politicians, he's not even a politician in any way, shape, or form. He just wants to end the bullshit. But if you can't feel the authenticity of that guy, and you look at his track record and everything he's done to get and given up, like, I don't know who he was in a past life. Who is it, Scott?
Hermes. Yeah. But his, I mean,
Lewis Hermes. See,
yeah,
I mean, right.
Funny. But yeah, I mean, his integrity. I mean, look at what he's done over the past 10 years.
He's
just
incredible.
Totally selfless. Just he's always stretching. He's always making it happen, and he's motivated so many people. I can't think of a more qualified candidate. There's no way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we got to all help him win.
There we
Awesome.
go.
Yeah. Well, we support Lewis, and I can't wait to check out those videos because I wanted to watch Laura Logan's too. But I'll check out Lewis's as well. I checked out the video that he released on Rumble for when he announced he was running for governor, and that was a really good one too, because it was almost like a State of the Union where he talked about how we shouldn't try to censor the other side, like schools and public places should not be politically one way. Like, we wouldn't want anyone to like only have like the right side or whatever, like we're both for free speech for both sides. And he's just very much a lot of integrity there. And then just being able to, I didn't even get to join on the Truth Tour, but just a couple stops. And but talking to like the people that are committed to working for him, I mean, a lot of those people donate their salary back just to the cause, and they just work it for free, and like they just donate everything that they make back, or they'll pick up the tab for each other at dinner, and they'll take turns doing that. It's just such a community and a camaraderie, and just a bunch of great people that he joined together.
For sure.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. Well, cool. I think we covered a lot of great stuff. Thanks for having us on our and your show.
Thank you for help reaching more people and sharing it on your channel. Absolutely. And thank you so much. I love you guys and continued support. I'm here if anything you need.
Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
I'm just going to share so these, to keep it simple, if you type her name on YouTube, that's her channel. And if you type her name with a 17 on her Facebook, that's her channel as well. That's the short version. So there we go. And then I guess I'll share we're on, let me find it. We're on Linktree under Truthstream if you guys have an interest in that. So I will, where is the right? Oh, right here. There we go. We're on X, Telegram, Rumble. Yeah, lots of film and music, etc. And if you want to see the speeches with Lara Logan or Lewis, or what's the other one Dr. Christiane Northrup. There's more in the works. They're all on our X and our Rumble. So dig in, check it out, and we're just honored to be here and doing this work and have interviews with people. Well, there's only one, Chelsea, but people like you.
So. Well, shout out to Matt at Verity Metals, by the way. That's the new hat.
What did it say?
Verity Metals. He's our gold sponsor. He's a great friend, and he's a huge supporter of Lewis as well. Oh. And he made it possible for me to go to that event, and we had a good time doing it for sure. So we do regular shows with Matt. He's pretty plugged into what's going on.
He really is.
Yeah, heart of gold, that guy. So
awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we'll roll the outro that your viewers may have missed when we were setting up the X at the start, so you can see some of our ridiculous humor and our airstreams and all that jazz. So this is our intro outro to our chill show, which we never really know when we're going to do it, but when we're going to do them. But anything else, or we're good, Chels?
Whoever make y'all's intros and outros, he's doing a great job.
Thank you. All right, everybody, take care. Follow Chelsea on her channels, and we'll see you guys soon. Ciao.
Bye.
Oh, is that the right? Oh, I got to pick the right one.
Slowly, the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
In a sluggish economy, inflation and recession hits the land of the free. Standing on employment lines, blame the government for hard times. We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. 10 kids in a Cadillac stand in line for welfare checks. Let's all reach off the state. Gee, the money's really great. We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Soup lines, free loaves of bread, 5-pound blocks of cheese, bags of groceries. Social security has run out on you and me. We do whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Doobity-doo wop wop, say what, yeah? We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Soup lines, free loaves of bread, 5-pound blocks of cheese, bags of groceries. Social security has run out on you and me. We do whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit hits the fan.
You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest. Well, that's bullshit.
Shut up, rent a cop.